The bonfire crackled, spitting embers into the starless Vermont night, but my blood ran colder than the autumn air. I'd come to this nowhere clearing to beg a witch to undo my family's curse, not to get slapped with a new one. Now, as her mocking laughter echoed through the pines, I realized I'd just been hexed to fall in love with the first person I laid eyes on. Her name was Madame Zephyr, a wiry woman with eyes like chipped obsidian, and she'd been my last hope. My family's cursed bad luck that turned every venture to ruin had driven us to the edge. I'd tracked her down to this forgotten corner of Burlington, offering everything I had, my grandfather's watch, my savings, even my pride. She'd taken it all, then betrayed me. A love curse, she'd cackled, waving a gnarled hand over a bubbling cauldron. The first soul you see will bind your heart. Boy, good luck. Her words hit like a punch, and before I could protest, she vanished into a swirl of smoke. I stumbled out of her ramshackle cabin, heart pounding, eyes darting to avoid any passerby. My name's Eli Carter, a 24-year-old mechanic with no time for nonsense, and I wasn't about to let some hocus-pocus ruin my life. I kept my gaze on the dirt path, the forest's whispers urging me to hurry. I just needed to get to my truck, lock myself in, and figure out how to break this curse before it took hold. The town was quiet this late, the bars long closed. I could make it. I had to. Then I heard it boots crunching on gravel, deliberate and close. My stomach dropped. I froze, staring at the ground, willing the stranger to pass. But the footsteps stopped, and a voice I'd know anywhere cut through the night like a blade. Carter, what the hell are you doing out here? No. Not him. Not now. I looked up, and there he was, Jasper Reed, my sworn enemy, standing under the pale glow of a street lamp. His sharp jawline and piercing green eyes were as infuriatingly perfect as ever, his tailored coat out of place in this backwoods nowhere. Of all the people in Burlington, why did it have to be him? Jasper and I went way back, and none of it was good. High school rivals. We'd clashed over everything: ports, grades, even the same summer job at the auto shop. He was the golden boy, born with a silver spoon and a smug grin, while I scraped by, the kid from the wrong side of town. Our bad blood had only thickened over the years. Last summer, he'd undercut my bid to save my family's failing garage, snatching the contract with his father's real estate empire. I'd lost everything, and he'd walked away whistling. I hated him. I had to hate him. But as our eyes locked, something shifted. My chest tightened, not with rage, but with a warmth I couldn't explain. My pulse raced, and his scowl softened, just for a second, into something almost tender. No, this wasn't me. This was the curse. I tore my gaze away, clenching my fists. Stay back, Reed, I growled, but my voice cracked, betraying me. What's your deal? Jasper stepped closer, his tone sharp but curious. You look like you've seen a ghost. He tilted his head, and damn it, the way the moonlight caught his face made my breath hitch. I wanted to punch him. Or maybe something else. I shook my head, trying to clear the fog creeping into my mind. I don't have time for you, I snapped, turning toward my truck. But my legs felt heavy, like the curse was rooting me to the spot. Jasper grabbed my arm, and the touch sent a jolt through me, electric, undeniable. I yanked free, heart hammering. Don't touch me. He raised an eyebrow, unfazed. You're acting weirder than usual, Carter. Spill it. His voice was low, almost concerned, and it threw me off. Jasper Reed didn't do concern. Not for me. I couldn't tell him. How do you explain a witch's curse to someone who'd laugh in your face? But the longer he stood there, the harder it was to ignore the pull in my chest, like a hook tugging me toward him. I had to get away. Just leave me alone, I muttered, shoving past him. But as I did, our shoulders brushed, and the world tilted. His sense-eater and something sharp, like expensive cologne, hit me like a wave. I stumbled, cursing under my breath. Jasper didn't follow, but I felt his eyes on me as I reached my truck. I slammed the door, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles whitened. This wasn't happening. I wasn't falling for Jasper Reed. I'd find that witch and force her to undo this, no matter what it took. But as I drove off, his face lingered in my mind, and a traitorous part of me wondered what it'd be like to stop fighting him. The next morning, I woke with a headache and a heart that wouldn't quit racing. I'd barely slept, haunted by dreams of Jasper's smirk and those damn green eyes. I needed answers, but Madame Zephyr's cabin was my only lead. I drove back to the clearing, half hoping I'd imagine the whole thing. No such luck. The cabin was still there, squat and eerie, but empty. No cauldron, no witch, just a note pinned to the door. The curse binds true. Only truth breaks it. Truth. What the hell did that mean? I crumpled the note, frustration boiling over. My phone buzzed at me, sister, Lena, asking why I hadn't opened the garage. I couldn't tell her I was chasing witches and fighting feelings for my nemesis. I texted back a vague excuse and headed to town, determined to track Zephyr down. Burlington was buzzing with its usual Saturday crowd, farmers market stalls, hipsters sipping overpriced coffee, kids chasing dogs. I kept my head down, avoiding eye contact. The curse was still active, and I wasn't about to test it on some random barista. But fate, or whatever cruel force was running this show, had other plans. I turned a corner and nearly collided with Jasper. Jesus, Carter, watch it, he said, steadying himself against a lamppost. He was in a crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled up, looking like he'd stepped out of a magazine. My stomach flipped, and I hated myself for it. You're everywhere, I muttered, stepping back. What do you want? He crossed his arms, studying me. You tell me. You've been weird since last night. What's going on? Nothing, I lied, but my voice was too sharp, too defensive. He noticed. Of course. Jasper always noticed when he had the upper hand. Bullshit. He stepped closer, and I backed up, hitting the wall of a bookstore. You're hiding something, Eli. And I'm not leaving till I know what. The sound of my first name on his lips did something to mesomething I didn't want to name. I glared at him, trying to summon the old anger. But it was slipping, replaced by a pull I couldn't fight. You wouldn't believe me if I told you, I said, voice low. Try me. His eyes held mine, and for a moment, I forgot how to breathe. The curse was winning, and I was losing. I couldn't tell Jasper about the curse. Not yet. Not when I barely understood it myself. But standing there, pinned by his gaze, I felt the weight of it, Madame Zephyr's words. The note, the maddening tug in my chest that made me want to close the distance between us. I pushed off the wall, brushing past him. Forget it. Reed. I've got bigger problems than you. He didn't follow, but his silence was louder than any comeback. I could feel his eyes on me as I disappeared into the crowd, my heart pounding like I'd just run a marathon. I needed to find Zephyr, but Burlington was small, and gossip traveled fast. If I started asking about a witch, I'd sound like I'd lost it. Instead, I headed to the library, hoping to dig up something anything about curses. The library was quiet, the kind of place where time felt stuck. I grabbed a stack of books on local folklore, flipping through pages about Vermont's witching history. Most of it was tourist bay tales of haunted barns and ghost lights, but one book mentioned a Zephyr, a wandering sorceress who'd cursed lovers for sport. No details on how to break her spells. Just a warning. Her magic thrives on secrets. Great. More riddles. I was deep in a chapter when someone slid into the chair across from me. I didn't need to look up to know it was Jasper. His presence was like a storm cloud impossible to ignore. "You're not getting rid of me that easy," he said, voice low to avoid the librarian's glare. "What's with the witch books, Carter?" I slammed the book shut, heat creeping up my neck. "None of your business." He leaned forward, elbows on the table, his face too close. "You're not this jumpy for no reason. Spill it, or I'll start guessing." His smirk was back, but there was something softer in his eyes, like he actually cared. The curse twisted that thought into something dangerous, making my pulse race. "Back off, Jasper," I said, but my voice lacked bite. I stood, grabbing my books, but he followed me to the checkout, relentless as ever. "You're running from something," he said, matching my stride as we left the library. "And I'm not an idiot. I know it's got to do with last night." I stopped dead, turning to face him. "You want the truth? Fine. I got cursed by a witch last night. She said I'd fall for the first person I saw. And guess who that was?" I regretted the words the second they left my mouth. His eyes widened, then narrowed, like he was piecing it together. "Me?" he said, half laughing, half incredulous. "You're saying you're, what, in love with me because of some spell?" "It's not funny," I snapped, my face burning. "I hate this. I hate you." But the words felt hollow, and he knew it. The curse was making me feel things I didn't want to. But the worst part, some tiny, buried part of me wondered if it was just the curse. Jasper's smirk faded. He stepped closer, his voice dropping. "You don't hate me, Eli. You never did. You just hate that I'm better at everything." I laughed, bitter and sharp. "You're delusional." But my heart wasn't in it. I turned away, heading for my truck, but he grabbed my wrist, gentle this time. The touch sent a shiver through me, and I hated how much I didn't hate it. "Eli, wait." His voice was softer now, almost pleading. "If this curse is real, maybe I can help." I yanked free, glaring. "You help me? You'd probably make it worse just to screw me over." But even as I said it, I wasn't sure. Jasper had always been my rival, but he'd never been cruel. Competitive, smug, infuriating, yes, but not cruel. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Believe it or not, I don't want you miserable. Let me at least, I don't know, drive you to wherever you're chasing this witch." I wanted to say no, to keep him as far from me as possible. But the cursor, maybe something else, made me nod. "Fine. But don't expect me to like it." We spent the rest of the day scouring Burlington for leads on Zephyr. Jasper's sleek BMW felt like a cage, his presence overwhelming in the small space. He asked questions too many, and I dodged most of them, sticking to vague answers about the curse. The truth was, I didn't trust myself to say more. Every time he laughed or glanced my way, the curse tightened its grip, making me notice things I shouldn't. The way his hands gripped the wheel, the faint scar above his eyebrow, the way his voice softened when he thought I wasn't listening. We hit dead end sold herbal shops, a psychic's parlor, even a bar where locals swore they'd seen a strange woman. By dusk, I was exhausted, and Jasper was frustrated. "This is insane," he said, pulling over near Lake Champlain. The water stretched out, dark and endless, reflecting the fading light. "You're chasing a ghost, Eli." Maybe, I admitted, staring at the lake. But I can't live like this. Feeling things I don't want to feel. I didn't look at him, but I felt his gaze, heavy and searching. You mean about me? He asked, voice quiet. I didn't answer. Couldn't. The silence stretched, thick with unspoken truths. Finally, he spoke again. What if it's not just the curse? I turned, startled. His face was unreadable, but his eyes held something raw, something that scared me more than the curse itself. Don't, I said, voice rough. Don't make this worse. He didn't push, but the air between us felt charged, like a storm about to break. We drove back in silence, and when he dropped me at my apartment, I didn't look back. But as I lay in bed that night, his words echoed, what if it's not just the curse? The next week was torture. I avoided Jasper, but he was everywhere outside the garage, at the coffee shop, even in my dreams. The curse was relentless, turning every accidental glance into a battle. I threw myself into work, fixing cars until my hands bled, but it didn't help. Every quiet moment brought his face to mind, and I hated how much I didn't hate it. Lena noticed something was off. You're acting like a lovesick puppy, she teased, tossing a wrench at me. I dodged, muttering about late nights, but she wasn't buying it. Spill. Eli. Who's got you all twisted up? Nobody. I lied, but her knowing look made me squirm. I couldn't tell her about Jasper. Not when I barely understood it myself. Then, a break. A regular at the garage, an old hippie named Marla, mentioned a weird lady living in a trailer near the lake. It had to be Zephyr. I grabbed my keys, heart racing with hope, but as I stepped outside, Jasper was there, leaning against his car like he'd been waiting. Marla talks loud, he said, smirking. You're going after that witch again, aren't you? I groaned. Why are you here? Reed. Because you're a mess, and I'm not letting you do this alone. He opened his car door, motioning for me to get in. Come on. Let's find her. I wanted to argue, but the cursor, maybe just exhaustion, made me give in. We drove to the lake, the trailer tucked in a grove of pines. It was Zephyr's. All right, same eerie vibe, same faint smell of herbs. But she wasn't there. Just another note. Face your heart, or the curse holds. I cursed, kicking the dirt. Jasper grabbed the note, reading it with a frown. Face your heart. What's that supposed to mean? It means she's screwing with me. I snapped, but his expression stopped me. He looked worried. For me. Eli, he said, stepping closer. What if she's right? What if you're fighting something you don't need to? I backed away, heart pounding. You don't get it. This isn't real. It's just magic screwing with my head. Is it? His voice was soft, but it cut deep. Because I've been feeling something too. And I wasn't cursed. My breath caught. He was close now. Too close. His eyes searching mine. I wanted to run, to deny it. But the cursor, maybe something real, held me there. Jasper, I can't. I whispered, but my voice betrayed me, full of want. He reached for my hand, and I didn't pull away. His touch was warm, grounding, and for a moment, I let myself feel it. But then reality crashed in years of rivalry. His family's role in my family's ruin. The curse twisting everything. I yanked my hand back, turning away. This isn't right. Eli, he started, but I was already walking away. The note crumpled in my fist. I had to end this curse, no matter what it took. That night, I couldn't sleep. Jasper's words haunted me, mixing with Zephyr's cryptic notes. Face your heart. What if he was right? What if this wasn't just the curse? I hated the thought, but it wouldn't leave me alone. By dawn, I was a wreck, and when Jasper showed up at the garage, I didn't have the energy to fight him off. We need to talk, he said, his usual confidence gone. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept either. I'm not letting you keep running from this. There's nothing to talk about, I said, but my voice was weak. He stepped closer, and I didn't back away this time. I don't know what's going on with this curse, he said, but I know what I feel. And it's not new, Eli. I've been fighting it for years. I stared at him, stunned. What are you saying? I'm saying I've always noticed you. Even when we were kids, fighting over stupid stuff. I didn't know what it meant then, but I do now. His voice was raw, vulnerable in a way I'd never seen. Curse or no curse, I care about you. The world tilted. I wanted to call him a liar, to push him away, but the truth was in his eyes. And in my heart, too. The curse had forced me to see him, but maybe it had only amplified what was already there. I took a shaky breath, stepping closer. Jasper, before I could finish, a shadow moved in the corner of my vision. Zephyr. She stood at the edge of the garage, her smile sharp as a blade. Well, she said. Looks like you're finally facing it. I froze, Jasper's confession still ringing in my ears. Zephyr's presence was like a cold wind, cutting through the warmth of the moment. She leaned against the garage door, her eyes glinting with amusement. You've been busy, Eli, she said, her voice dripping with mockery. Found your heart yet? Jasper stepped in front of me, protective in a way that made my chest ache. Leave him alone, he snapped. Undo whatever you did to him. Zephyr laughed, sharp and cruel. Oh, I didn't do anything he didn't ask for. He wanted his family's curse lifted. I just gave him a different kind of push. I pushed past Jasper, anger overriding the curse's pull. You tricked me, I said, voice shaking. You said this would fix everything. And it will, she replied, stepping closer. Her eyes flicked between me and Jasper, like she was reading a story only she could see. The curse I gave you wasn't about love, Eli. It was about truth. You've been running from yourself for years, hiding who you are, what you feel. The spell just made it impossible to keep lying. I staggered back, her words hitting like a freight train. Hiding. I'd spent my life fighting for my family, my future, my pride. But deep down, I knew she was right. I'd buried parts of myself, afraid of what they meant. My rivalry with Jasper, my anger, it was easier than facing the truth. Jasper grabbed my arm, steadying me. What's she talking about, Eli? I couldn't look at him. Not yet. She's saying, the curse didn't make me feel this. It just forced me to admit it. The words burned, but they felt right. I'd hated Jasper because it was safer than wanting him. Safer than admitting I'd always seen him, even when I didn't want to. Zephyr clapped, slow and mocking. There it is. Truth breaks the curse. Boy, you're free, know if you can live with it. She turned to leave, but I called after her. What about my family's curse? She paused, glancing back. That was broken the moment you faced yourself. Truth is power, Eli. Use it. And with that, she was gone, leaving only the faint scent of herbs and a weight lifted from my shoulders. I turned to Jasper, my heart pounding. He was watching me, waiting, his expression a mix of hope and fear. Is it true? He asked. What you said. I took a deep breath. The curse gone, but the feeling's still there. Raw and real. Yeah, I said, voice steady for the first time in days. I've been fighting you my whole life, Jasper. But it wasn't just about hate. It was more. He stepped closer, his hand brushing mine. And now, I swallowed, the world narrowing to just us. Now I'm done fighting. He smiled, soft and real, and when he kissed me, it wasn't the curse. It was usmacy. Complicated. True. The garage, the town, the past, it all faded, leaving only the warmth of his lips and the promise of something new. Months later, Burlington felt different. My family's luck had turned, bills paid, the garage thriving. But the real change was in me. Jasper and I were still figuring things out, navigating the messy space between rivals and something more. We fought, laughed, kissed, and learned each other in ways I'd never imagined. The town whispered, but I didn't care. I'd faced my truth, and it had set me free. Zephyr's words stayed with me. Truth is power. I'd spent years hiding, afraid of who I was, what I wanted. But loving Jasper, choosing him, was the bravest thing I'd ever done. And in that choice, I found not just love, but myself.